The sun was setting over the crimson canyons of Kiara, casting long shadows across the jagged cliffs. The air was dry and thin, carrying a faint scent of alien herbs and scorched earth. Jack, a seasoned human cowboy, guided his hover bike slowly along the rocky ridge. He had traveled far from Earth to this harsh frontier planet, where humans had built a small outpost among the towering red rocks. Life here was unforgiving, but Jack was used to hardship. Still, he knew every mission carried risk, and today's risk was higher than usual. Jack's team had been sent to scout a nearby canyon rumored to be a hiding place for hostile alien raiders. They had tracked unusual movement through the dust storms and strange animal trails. The landscape was silent, almost too quiet, and Jack felt the uneasy tension that always preceded an ambush. His fingers tightened around the handle of his plasma revolver as he urged the hoverbike forward. Suddenly, a high-pitched screech pierced the air. Jack's eyes scanned the cliff edges, and then they saw them, shadowy figures moving with unnatural speed. The alien raiders had come out of nowhere, surrounding the humans with weapons that hummed and glowed faintly. Jack shouted a warning, but it was too late. The first blast struck his team's scout, sending him tumbling over the edge of the cliff. Jack hit the ground as a second shot scorched the rock near his foot, and he drew his weapon, firing blindly at the moving shadows. The battle was chaotic. The aliens were fast and organized, their movements fluid and precise. Jack's friends fell one by one, and he fought desperately, his body taking hits that burned and bruised him. He tried to retreat, but the cliff edge was unstable. A massive blast shook the ground beneath him, and he slipped, tumbling down the rocky slope. Pain exploded in his side and arm. Jack tried to call for help, but the world blurred into a haze of heat and dust. He lay on the canyon floor, battered and barely conscious. His breath came in ragged gasps. Blood mixed with dirt, and the pain in his body made it impossible to move. He felt the weight of despair pressing down on him. The thought of dying alone, far from Earth in this alien wilderness, was unbearable. He closed his eyes, letting darkness begin to overtake him. Then a soft voice whispered in the distance, almost carried by the wind. "Don't go." Jack's eyes fluttered open. At first he thought it was a hallucination, a trick of the sun and pain. But the voice came again, this time clearer, closer. He turned his head with effort and saw her, a young Apache woman moving with grace and certainty that seemed almost unreal. She wore a mix of traditional attire and survival gear adapted to Kiara's harsh environment. Her dark hair framed a face both fierce and gentle, and her eyes were full of determination. Her name was Naya, a native of a planet that had allied with the human settlers. She had learned the ways of the frontier, mastering both survival and combat, and her people were known for their knowledge of alien flora and healing techniques. She knelt beside Jack, assessing his wounds with practiced precision. "You're not going anywhere today," she said softly, pressing her hands over the worst injuries. Her touch was firm but gentle, and Jack felt a strange warmth radiating from her. Pain still gripped him, but Naya's presence brought clarity. She whispered words of encouragement, telling him to focus on life, on breathing, and on the strength he still carried inside him. Jack wanted to speak, to thank her, but the words stuck in his throat. He felt helpless, but at the same time a spark of will ignited inside him. The voice, the touch, the insistence, "Don't go." It was enough to keep him clinging to life. Naya worked quickly, using her knowledge of the alien herbs that grew nearby. She crushed leaves into a paste and applied them to Jack's wounds, murmuring instructions to his body to fight the infection and pain. The strange herbal scent filled the canyon, mixing with the metallic tang of blood. Jack's breathing steadied slightly, and he felt the burning in his side dull to a manageable ache. Around them, the canyon was dangerous. The alien raiders had not left. They lurked in the shadows, watching, waiting for any sign of movement. Naya kept her eyes on the surroundings while tending to Jack, her every movement fluid, precise, and confident. She whispered instructions to Jack, telling him when to move, when to stay still, and how to avoid drawing attention. Slowly he obeyed, following her guidance like a soldier following a seasoned commander. As they moved through the canyon, Jack could barely walk, but Naya supported him. She told stories in quiet tones to keep his mind off the pain, stories of her people, of their connection to the land, and of their belief that the human spirit could survive anything. Jack listened, fascinated by her wisdom and courage. Even in his weakened state, he felt admiration and slowly respect. Night fell, and the alien stars of Kiara glimmered in the sky, unlike anything Jack had ever seen. The temperature dropped rapidly and the wind howled through the canyon, carrying dust that stung his eyes and lungs. Naya guided him to a small hidden alcove, a natural shelter carved into the canyon wall. She tended to his wounds further, wrapping them securely, and then built a small fire using alien twigs and combustible crystals that gave off a warm, steady glow. Jack watched the fire flicker, his thoughts drifting to home. He realized how fragile life was and how easily it could be taken. Yet how much strength a single person's courage could ignite. Naya sat across from him, keeping watch. "You're stronger than you know," she said, her voice low and steady. "Your body may be broken, but your spirit is unyielding," Jack wanted to argue, to say that he was just a man, not a hero, but he couldn't. He felt her words in every aching muscle, in every beat of his heart. The reality of their situation pressed down. The aliens could return at any moment, and survival depended on more than skill. It depended on the human will, the unyielding spark that refused to surrender. Hours passed. Jack drifted in and out of sleep, each time returning to consciousness with Naya's voice guiding him. She fed him water and small amounts of alien fruit, teaching him to chew carefully, to swallow slowly, and to preserve his strength. Slowly, his body began to respond. Breathing became easier, pain more tolerable, and hope started to grow where despair had once thrived. Finally, in the early hours of the morning, Jack could stand with Naya's support. He felt shaky, every movement a reminder of how close he had come to death, but he stood. He realized that survival was not just about fighting. It was about trusting, about accepting help, and about letting courage flow through others as well as oneself. Naya smiled, a brief, genuine smile that warmed Jack's heart despite the cold canyon air. "You made it," she whispered. "You didn't give up." Jack nodded, too exhausted for words. But inside, a fire burned, a fire of gratitude, respect, and newfound determination. He knew that he could face the aliens again, and that with Naya's guidance and the strength he had almost forgotten he possessed, he would survive. He would fight. He would endure. The first light of dawn spread across the canyon, painting the cliffs with gold and red. The shadows of the previous night seemed to recede, replaced by a world that was still dangerous but alive. Jack looked at Naya, and for the first time, he understood that humans could survive anywhere, even on a distant planet filled with unknown perils. Not because of strength alone, but because of courage, determination, and the quiet whisper that refused to let life go. The whisper of someone who believed in him even when he could not believe in himself. And in that moment, Jack knew something else too. That survival was just the beginning. The bond he shared with Naya, born from desperation and nurtured by trust, would shape everything to come. He was no longer just a wounded cowboy. He was a man reborn on the edge of an alien world, ready to face whatever challenges the galaxy might throw at him. The morning sun bathed the crimson canyons of Kiara in gold and red light. The air was still dry, but the night's chill had faded, leaving a warmth that carried promise. Jack, now standing steadily with Naya's support, felt a strength he hadn't known before. His wounds were still tender, but the pain no longer ruled him. The whisper that had saved his life, "Don't go," lingered in his mind like a quiet flame, fueling determination. Naya led him carefully down a narrow path that snaked through the canyon. Her movements were precise, almost instinctive, as if she and the land were connected in a way Jack could not fully understand. Along the way, she taught him how to observe, to listen, and to sense danger before it arrived. He began to realize that survival here was not only about strength, but about awareness and quick thinking. The ruins of an ancient alien settlement appeared ahead, half buried in red dust. Naya gestured for Jack to hide among the crumbled walls while she scouted ahead. From her position, she spotted movement, figures approaching through the canyon, moving in formation. The alien raiders were returning, larger in number and better prepared than before. They had likely learned from the previous encounter. Jack's heart raced, but Naya's calm presence steadied him. "Stay low. Watch the shadows. Wait for my signal," she whispered. Jack obeyed, crouching behind the debris, feeling the familiar weight of fear, but also a spark of courage he hadn't felt in hours. Naya returned moments later, pointing to a narrow path that could lead them around the raiders. "We can use the cliffs to our advantage. You'll see." As they moved, Jack followed her instructions carefully. Step by step, he learned to trust her instincts, to observe patterns, and to act before the enemy could anticipate him. They reached a vantage point above the raiders' path. Jack watched as the alien warriors moved. their sleek armor catching the light of the rising sun, their weapons humming with energy. Despite their strength, Jack realized they had no understanding of human cunning. Naya's strategy became clear. We'll make them think the canyon is empty, then lead them into traps. Use their speed against them. Watch and learn, she said. Jack nodded, listening and observing, feeling a sense of unity he had never experienced before. Humans alone could survive here, but humans working together with someone like Naya, they were unstoppable. The first phase of their ambush began. Naya led Jack to positions where they could drop rocks, create dust clouds, and mislead the raiders. Jack felt the thrill of using his mind as much as his body. The aliens were strong, but they were predictable. Using simple tools, tricks of terrain, and precise timing, Jack and Naya forced the raiders into confusion. Alien weapons discharged into empty canyons, while Jack and Naya stayed unseen, guiding the chaos. At one point, Jack spotted a young raider separated from the group, struggling to navigate the canyon cliffs. Instinctively, Jack raised his plasma revolver but paused. Naya placed a hand on his arm. "We win without unnecessary death," she whispered. Jack lowered his weapon, realizing that survival and morality could coexist even in the heat of battle. As the aliens regrouped, frustration began to show. Jack noticed their leader, a tall alien with a sleek black armor, scanning the canyon for the humans who had outsmarted them. Naya recognized him immediately.
"He's the one who planned the ambush," she said.
"Stay close, trust me. This ends with strategy, not luck." The final confrontation came as the raiders realized they had been trapped in a narrow canyon corridor. Jack and Naya used rocks, hidden pits, and natural terrain to their advantage. The humans' quick thinking and understanding of the land created obstacles that the alien raiders could not overcome. Each trap slowed the raiders, each misstep filled them with confusion, and each careful movement from Jack and Naya strengthened their control of the battlefield. When the alien leader finally confronted Jack directly, the tension was palpable. The warrior raised his energy blade and Jack drew his plasma revolver, feeling the weight of the moment. The leader lunged and Jack dodged instinctively, guided by Naya's earlier teachings. He led the alien into a narrow passage where the terrain worked against him. The alien stumbled, giving Jack the chance to disable his weapon with a calculated strike. It was over. The remaining raiders, seeing their leader defeated and their strategy foiled, retreated quickly, vanishing into the canyons. Jack stood, breathing heavily, feeling the adrenaline slowly drain from his body. Naya approached, smiling faintly. "You did well," she said. "You fought, you survived, and you learned. That is human strength." Jack looked at the canyon walls, at the alien sun shining high above, and felt a profound sense of accomplishment. He had survived against impossible odds, not alone, but with guidance, trust, and determination. He realized that humans could thrive anywhere, even on a world filled with danger and unknown creatures, because their courage and intelligence could adapt to any situation. In the following days, Jack recovered further under Naya's care. They explored the canyon together, mapping safe routes, identifying hazards, and learning to coexist with the alien wildlife. Jack practiced tracking and camouflage, learning to move silently and strike precisely. Each lesson was a reminder that survival depended on knowledge and preparation, not just brute force. Their bond grew stronger. Jack respected Naya's skill and wisdom, and she admired his resilience and determination. Together, they became a symbol of cooperation between humans and allies, a reminder that even in a galaxy filled with unknown dangers, human ingenuity and spirit could prevail. One afternoon, as they rested on a cliff overlooking the canyon, Jack reflected on his journey. He thought about the moment he had nearly died, about the whisper that had saved him, and about the strength he had found within himself. Naya sat beside him, quietly observing the horizon. "You are different now," she said softly. "You survived because you refused to give up. That is what makes humans remarkable." Jack nodded, feeling the truth of her words. The canyon, once a place of fear and pain, had become a place of growth and understanding. He realized that the galaxy was vast, dangerous, and full of challenges, but humans with courage, determination, and alliances with those willing to guide them could overcome anything. Their peaceful moment was interrupted by a distant rumble, the sound of alien predators stirred by the previous battle. Jack instinctively reached for his revolver, but Naya placed a hand on his shoulder. "We are ready," she said. "Together we can face whatever comes next." Jack smiled faintly, feeling a deep sense of confidence. He had learned that survival was not about fighting alone, but about trust, knowledge, and the refusal to surrender. The human spirit, he realized, was unstoppable, not because humans were the strongest physically, but because they refused to be defeated, even when everything seemed lost. As the sun dipped lower, painting the canyon in orange and purple, Jack and Naya prepared to return to the human outpost. Each step was careful, precise, and confident. Jack knew that life on Kiara would continue to be dangerous, but he was no longer the same man who had almost died on the cliff. He was stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever. The alien world stretched out before them, filled with mystery, peril, and opportunity. Jack looked at Naya, who gave a quiet nod, and he felt a sense of gratitude unlike anything he had known. Her whisper, her guidance, and her belief in him had pulled him back from the brink, and now, standing tall under the alien sun, Jack knew that humans could not only survive in this galaxy, they could thrive. He thought of the whisper again. Don't go. It had been more than words. It had been a spark, a call to life, a reminder that courage and determination could overcome even the most impossible odds. Jack smiled to himself. He was alive. He was human. And in a galaxy that had once seemed so vast and hostile, he realized that humanity's spirit was the most powerful force of all. As they walked back toward the outpost, Jack and Naya moved in silent coordination, aware of every sound, every movement, every shadow. Together, they represented something larger than themselves, a symbol of resilience, intelligence, and the unyielding will to survive. They had faced death and come out stronger, proving that humans could endure anything the universe threw at them. And with that realization, Jack felt the fire of determination within him burn brighter than ever. The canyon, the aliens, and the dangers ahead no longer seemed insurmountable. Humans had survived Earth. They had crossed the stars, and here, in this alien wilderness, they would continue to thrive. Because no matter how dangerous the galaxy, human courage and the bonds formed with those who believe in them could never be broken. Jack glanced at Naya, and in her eyes he saw the same understanding reflected back. Together they would face the galaxy, not as victims but as survivors, fighters, and witnesses to the enduring power of the human spirit. And as the stars began to shine faintly in the alien sky, Jack knew one thing for certain. Humans were unstoppable,